If your North Star is making money, this is what we're talking about today. COVID's already gone over it a little bit. I was going to do a little bit more mindset stuff. I like integrating it all. I don't want to be too superficial, but for who I am, I'm Charlie, 21 years old, done 3 six-figure businesses. What I'm doing now is multi-six figures at 90% plus profit margins, which is what I like to teach my clients how to do. So the presentation I'm giving you today is how my clients are making 50 to 100K a month on LinkedIn without posting more, working harder, or spending money on ads, which is the typical ways people think they need to make more money. You know, you end up working 10, 12-hour days, chasing the wrong goal, which kind of aligns with what Kobe said earlier. So I'm going to be going over my way of doing it. Again, it's not gospel, but it's worked for me, it's worked for my clients, so take what you want from it. So the problem that I want to tackle today, what got you to 8 to 30K a month isn't going to get you to 50 to 100K. And a lot of people spend, months, years, I got stuck in this rut for a year, trying to get from 10 to 50K a month, just doing more content, more sales calls, more DMs, more everything. And that didn't work. So this is what I learned about today. You likely got your business where it is if you're between 8 and 30K a month, maybe a little bit higher, a little bit lower, whatever it is. You probably got there by doing everything yourself to begin with, or with very little help, such as the content, the DMs, the sales calls, the delivery. And to be fair, it probably worked. It's got you where you are right now, right? Now you think, what got me here is going to get me to where I want to get to. If I just do more of that, it will equal more growth in my business. But that's wrong, in my opinion, anyway, okay? Because what you're going to end up doing is creating yourself as the bottleneck. If you're doing the content, if you're doing the DMs, if you're doing the sales and you think, right, I'm going to do more to get more money, more content's going to mean more workload on you. More calls equals more workload on you. More clients equals more workload on you. Everything, right? And we're all human. When you have 2 hands, 2 legs, you're going to become the bottleneck. So this is not a good place to be, right? You're going to end up building yourself a hamster wheel that in order to spin requires you to consistently run in it. And if you stop running, the wheel stops spinning, which is not where we want to be, right? Because then you can't go on holiday, you can't take a week off without stressing about a business. If you're going to go Cape Town for 2.5 months and chill every now and then, this is not the way to do it. So you'll end up working 10 to 12-hour days on a fragile business that relies on you. Now, I assume a lot of you don't want a business that relies on you, right? You probably want to, like I said, travel, go and spend time with your family, or have a week off, or even just know that next week, if anything did go wrong, you could take a week off and the business would still be fine. Or a month, whatever it is, okay? So what I want you to take away from this whole presentation is you don't need to do more in order to grow. You can actually do less. I work less now than I did a year ago, making 4 times less money. So in order to grow the business, you don't need to do more. That's the key point I want to sort of hammer in today. You need a system that works without you, so you can create leverage, do the high leverage tasks, and actually focus on growing the business, leading the vision, etc. So my clients are doing this. I've got a fitness coach who is making 100K a month for the last 3 months running. He's on 88K so far this month. He'll probably do 105, 110K. He works just 8 hours a day. He mainly does delivery. In fact, he only does delivery. He signs 26K plus clients. They all pay in full up front, and he takes his kids to school and picks them up every single day whilst making 100K a month. I have a business M&A coach. Some of you may know him. His name's D. Ludlow. He made 53K last month. By the way, I put everything in dollars because a lot of my clients are US. He only works on delivery, again, runs multiple other businesses, 7 or 8. I think he's making like serious money. Anyway, his deals range from 5 to 20K. And whilst doing all of this, he still has the time to run the 7 other businesses, see his family, go on holiday, whatever he wants to do, okay? So this is the point I want to hammer in. They're not relying on effort. None of them have got to where they are by working 12, 13, 14-hour days. They're relying on a system. And I call it the authority flywheel. This is what I teach all of my clients. It's the system that I use in my business. And everything that I learn, I just give to my clients, okay? So it's called the authority flywheel. And there's 3 main leverage shifts I'm going to take you all over today. Number 1 is I'm going to teach you how to build a killer high-ticket offer. And I'll sort of point out to you why your current leads aren't converting. Number 2, we'll go into objection-based content. A lot of you have maybe misconceptions of what your content should do or how it should work. I'm going to show you how to use content to make prospects sold before the call, so there's less objections on the sales call, which makes everything run smoother. And also how to do high leverage outreach, so how to book 5 to 10 sales calls a week without having to do that much. So these are the 3 main leverage shifts we're going to go over today. Again, as I'm going through it, if any of you have any questions, jump in, put your hand up, whatever you want to do. So component number 1. The kill it high ticket offer. We want to stop trying to convince people to buy our stuff. We want to stop trying to convince them that maybe, I'm sure a lot of you, whatever service you sell, like Georgia, for example, you still do sometimes, but you have a big issue in trying to convince people they need HR, right? We don't want to do this. If we can sell something irresistible for a large price, it makes everyone's lives 10 times easier. So my fitness coach 1 year ago was selling 2.5K packages. He'd sell his fitness coaching for $2.5K. But he was still hearing, I need to think about it. Whereas nowadays, he's selling coaching packages for 26K plus and he gets paid in full. He doesn't actually change his delivery. The back end stayed the same. The operation stayed the same. The people he was selling to stayed the same. the way we presented the offer was 10 times different. And this was the change we had to make. He didn't improve his sales skills, he just improved his offer, okay? Because people don't buy based on price. Like, there are people driving around in Rolls Royces out there. There's people driving around in Fords. They didn't buy it based on the price. They bought it based on their perceived value on what that car would bring them. Okay, so this is what we need to kind of do with our offer, right? If your offer was a no-brainer, would people still hesitate? This is the question you need to ask yourself. A lot of you are getting hesitations on the sales calls, in the content, in your DMs, whatever it is. But if you could, make your offer a no-brainer, no one would hesitate anymore. Obviously, that's going to be very difficult to get it to 100%, probably impossible, but we can get as close as we possibly can. So when you hear objections, for example, like, I need to think about it, this is just a lack of value or perceived value. Any objection you hear, 90% of the time, I always explain it as a tree. All the objections you usually hear are like a tree branch. We could try and tackle every single objection. Like, I need to think about it, I need to speak to my partner, I need to, give me a week, let me go find the money. All of these are just tree branches of a tree. The objection is the root and the tree trunk, okay? These are the things that we want to be tackling. So I need to think about it is just a lack of value. In this case, the lack of value of your offer would be the tree trunk, the roots. I need to think about is the branch, which is what we see. If that makes sense. If anyone has any questions, let me know. But if I offered you this, a $1 million Ferrari, and I said to you, I'll give it to you for 100K if you pay me within the next 24 hours, a lot of people would find a way to get that money. I imagine if I said to you, and you all trust me and genuinely believe me, if I said, look, there's a $1 million Ferrari outside, get me 100K within the next 24 hours and you can have it, regardless if you had that cash in your bank or not, you'd all probably come to me with 100K. Because you're getting a $1 million car for 100K, which is worth 900K more than you're spending on it, okay? So this is how your offer should feel. This is where we want to get your offer to the point of. It needs to be, the perceived value needs to be 10 times or even higher, 10 times higher than the money that they're spending with you, okay? So if you want to convert more leads and charge higher prices, there's 3 simple ways that we can make your offer irresistible. Now, this is the stuff I'd recommend you write down if you want to make any notes. Number 1, we want to make the result feel inevitable. We want to make them feel that no matter what they do, the perceived likelihood of success is as high as possible, okay? So, Joe, in your case, for example, you might hear a lot of people be like, okay, could I do it on my own? Could I, do I need a financial advisor? I don't know if that's an objection you hear, it might be. If we can make them feel like no matter what, working with you, they're going to get better result on their own, you're going to get less objections, okay? So I'll get onto this more when I show you the content component because that's the best way to remove objections. But for now, we can increase the belief that they're going to achieve the result by 1, making the outcome feel achievable, 2, making the path feel clear, so you know exactly what the path is going to look like over the next 2, 3, 4 months, whatever it is, and making failure feel unlikely. So Georgia, for example, I know you had that call with Matt the other day. So he basically said, I don't feel like you might be able to get me to a place I want to get to. Mm-hmm. His problem was he didn't see the path. If we showed him, right, we do this, step 1 we're going to do this, step 2 we're going to do this, step 3 we're implementing that, and we said it will get you to this end result, he may have been way more likely to buy, which is obviously what we're figuring out in a minute. But ask yourself this, why wouldn't this work for them? In their head and in your head, what would not make the offer work for them? For example, in your case, it might be, I don't have the spare cash to invest. In your case, Georgia, it might be, I don't know if you're going to integrate well with a team. Kobe, in your case, it might be, is mine actually going to move my business or whatever it is, okay? So figure out why wouldn't this work for them and then create your offer around that. These are the things you want to create an offer around. Not what do they want, but what would stop it from working for them? Okay, so let's say you run a videography business. They might say, I'm not going to find the time to film. I'm not going to find the time to sit down and create content. That's what you want to create your offer around. Not how do I create the best video, not how do I create the best podcast. It's what's going to stop them actually doing the best podcast, okay? So I put it into a sheet like this. I have 3 columns, client failure scenario, solution, and then the delivery type of doing that, okay? So one way that a lot of my clients were failing was they didn't have enough time to do the DMs. A solution that I'm going to add into my offer, appointment setter, consulting. I'm going to teach them how to hire and train an appointment setter. Another client failure scenario, let's say someone wants to scale to 50K a month. If they've got a low close rate, I'm going to add in sales school training, and I'm going to do that as a done with you part of my offer, okay? So write down all of the points of failure that your clients have. Let's say, for example, you run a videography business. If the point of failure is they don't find the time to do the content, write down how you can solve that and then figure out how you're going to deliver it. For example, what you could do is, the solution is I'm going to script the content for them. That's going to be a done for you element. You can then add that as a bonus, you can charge more for it, or you can just include it in your standard offer. But that makes the perceived likelihood that they're actually going to succeed way better because now that doubt is removed, okay? Number 2, the second way to improve the value of your offer, we want to make the result feel faster. People don't want to be waiting, 6, 9, 12 months or an unknown amount of timeline to achieve their result. This is why I always say that monthly retainers are bad. If you sell a monthly retainer to begin with, people will feel like they don't know how long it's going to take to get a result. So what I'd always do, let's say you sell a 1,500 quid a month videography retainer and they want to get 5,000 subs on YouTube, work out how long it takes on average a client to achieve that, sell that up front, then you can upsell them to the monthly retainer. That's just an example. But we can increase the perceived speed by decreasing the time to value of achieving a result, cutting unnecessary steps out of the process, or at least on the front end. If you don't feel like they need to know they're going to be involved in that step, don't tell them about it. And 3, showing a clear timeline. Okay, so in your offer doc, I'd literally do these things. You can map out, within week 1, we're going to achieve this. That's time to value number 1. Number 2, rather than saying we're going to have an onboarding call, you probably don't need to talk about that. Cut unnecessary steps. Number 3, show a clear timeline of what they're going to achieve week 1, week 2, week 3, etc. Okay. So when I onboard my clients, they jump straight into a cash sprint. So they get a Notion dashboard, 10-day quick win sprint. They define their ICP, they build and refine their offer, create the profile drafts, have the onboarding call with me. We review all of that, and we go straight into a cash sprint to get as many sales calls in as quickly as possible. Now, the reason I do these 3 things here is a lot of people on sales calls were saying to me, I don't know who my ICP is, or I don't have a clear of an idea as I'd like. I don't know exactly what my offer should be, or I don't feel like it's converting very well, and my profile is a bit naff. If I solve them 3 problems for them within the first week, and then show that my process worked by booking them sales calls, the belief they have throughout the next 4 months of work with me is going to be much higher than if they didn't get this result. And it also makes them feel like they're getting a quick win straight away rather than having to wait 4 months to achieve it, okay? So even if you do have a fast time to value within your offer, make sure you're showing it on the front end, because people don't know what they don't know, all right? So within the first 10 days, I want them to put their first few sales calls and sign their first few clients, as I just said. And the idea of this is a low time to value, which is what people want. It creates belief in your process as well. Like Kobe, for example, I imagine if you worked with someone for 4 months and it took them 4 months to start figuring shit out, they'd maybe start losing belief in the 2nd, 3rd month, which is like what you said, right? Belief is the number 1 thing that actually drives a business. So if you can show them a way to believe in your process within first week, now they're much more invested over the next 4 months, and then you're more likely to get better results. So time to value is super important. And then when I'm presenting my offer on a sales call, this is how I have it laid out. What outcomes are you going to achieve? Within week 1, identify the number 1 bottlenecks from scaling, clear execution roadmap, align your ICP offer, blah, blah, blah. Within 30 days, by the end of month 4. They know all of the outcomes they're going to achieve and when they're going to achieve it by. So now there's less of a question as to how quick is this going to be, how long is it going to take. Okay. Number 3, the third thing we can do to make your offer feel more valuable is we want to make the process feel easier. People don't like doing work as much as they say they might. They probably don't. So we can decrease the perceived effort to achieve the result by 1, adding done for you elements, 2, templates and systems, 3, clear guidance and support. If we add these 3 things, the perceived effort goes down, which is what we want to do to make an offer more valuable. I'll give you an example. Imagine there's 2 ways that you can lose weight. There's, I don't know how to say it, a Zempic, and there's a personal trainer, right? Think of a personal trainer, right? They could both guarantee a result. One could say you're going to lose fat, the other one could say you're going to lose fat. But the Ozempic one, you put in way less effort and it happens within a couple of weeks. The personal trainer, it takes months. You have to put in a lot of effort. It's more reliant on you actually doing the work. That's why so many people go with Ozempic and Ozempic, whatever it is, okay? Because the perceived effort is lower, the likelihood of success is much higher, so on, so on, so on. Obviously there's health effects that people worry about, but people don't care about that, they go with Ozempic, just because it's a more valuable offer on the front end. So when my clients get onboarded, they get all of my SOPs, they get bi-weekly calls, support, whatever they need, okay? So the more effort that you remove from your process, the more valuable your offer feels. Again, I'm gonna keep using this example because I've seen a few people do it in this room. If you run a videography business, for example, and you say, rather than you having to script the content, and then I'm gonna come over and film it, you could just say, I'll do everything for you. Makes the offer feel way more valuable, okay? These shifts will A, improve your close rate, but B, allow you to raise prices, which is obviously where we wanna get to. If you can do them 2 things simultaneously, you make a lot more money, because the effort you put in is the same, but you get way more out of it. But even with a killer offer, you're still going to hear some objections. That's just how the business game works, okay? Which moves you on to component number 2, objection-based content. We want to stop handling the same objections on every single sales call because it's a low leverage task, right? Imagine you have to constantly handle, I need to think about it, I need to speak to my partner. Will this work for me? Is HR the solution? We want to get pre-sold prospects instead. So the way we can do this is by answering all of our prospects and ICPs, limiting beliefs, objections and questions in your content so that before they ever get on the sales call, they know everything they need to know about you, your offer, and they're basically pre-sold, okay? So content isn't just for getting attention. A lot of you may have the misconception that and I hear this a lot, if I get more impressions, I'll naturally get more inbound leads, because I'm getting inbound leads now. So if I just get 4 times the amount of impressions, I'll get 4 times the amount of inbound leads. But that's wrong, okay? The idea of content is to get pre-sold prospects and remove objections before a call. Of course, obviously, you still want to be able to get attention, but this should be the main goal. Because if you can do the two simultaneously, everything becomes 10 times easier. Because now you're not only getting attention, you're getting attention from people who also want to buy from you. Okay, so this is what we want to go through. You're probably posting content like this in a minute. Maybe you're doing tips and tricks, maybe you're doing free value, maybe you're doing random thoughts or a personal post, whatever it is. Now, this stuff works to get attention. You'll probably find if you follow this kind of content strategy here, you'll get likes, you'll get follows, you'll get impressions, but you won't get many inbound leads. Because what you're going to do is you're going to fall into one of 2 buckets. One is the expert, 2 is the friend, okay? People who are an expert too much, people know that they've got knowledge, and they either try and implement the free value themselves and get someone with it, and therefore they don't need you anymore, or they like what you say, but they don't trust you enough. Humans only buy from humans they trust and they like, okay? So if they don't like you, even though they know that you're an expert, you can probably help them, they probably won't buy from you. The friend bucket is the opposite one, where you do way too many personal posts, way too many, here's my fault for this, or here's a meme, whatever it is. People will like you, but they won't see what value they can get from you, okay? So this kind of content style usually doesn't help you actually make more money. And a lot of people who do this kind of content style, they still hear the same objections at every single sales call. So the reason being, your content isn't building belief. I want you to write that down, and going forward, all your content should be aimed at building belief, okay? That's the aim of it. So every objection that you hear on a sales call is just a missing belief, right? So for example, if you hear it's too expensive, it usually just means the ROI isn't enough, the return on investment isn't enough, or they don't believe that they're going to get an ROI, okay? That's just an example of an objection you might hear a lot. But we can create content that actually tackles every single objection you hear. So my business M&A coach, he basically teaches people how to purchase businesses, sell businesses, merge businesses together to, increase EBITDA and exit value, etc. He kept hearing the same objection on 90% of his sales calls. I need more capital than I currently have in order to get started with you. So a lot of people thought they need 50, 100, 200 grand to go and buy a business. You probably know this. The fact is, if you structure a business acquisition properly, you can put £1 down, some of his clients have done. Some of his clients were on like 30 grand a year salaries at Sainsbury's and still bought a 500 grand a year business, okay? So the last few months, we've been tackling that limiting belief and that objection through his content. For example, with this post here, one of the biggest misconceptions about buying businesses is that you need a ton of capital. He then talks about this client from Sainsbury's just bought a 500k business. Here's how to structure a business properly so you can buy it for £1. Through months of doing this, he doesn't hear that objection anymore. I also kept hearing the same objection on a lot of my sales calls. I'll just give it a go on my own for a few months. A lot of people thought that they could do what I was going to teach them on their own, or they already had the systems. Reason being, they just didn't have enough belief that I could probably get them to where they wanted to get to. Or maybe they didn't see what I was doing differently. So I made this YouTube video here. I stopped working hard and now make 32k a month at 20. In that YouTube video, it's 11 minutes of me basically breaking down why me trying to do everything on my own actually slowed me down for a year. Anytime I'm in a DM conversation with someone and I can kind of sense that they're thinking I need to do this on my own or just give it a go on my own, I send them this YouTube video. Anyone who watches it usually books in for a sales call because it breaks down their limiting belief and now they don't believe they need to do that anymore, or that that's the best path for them, okay? Your content should move your audience one step closer to buying from you. Every single post, every single YouTube video, every single Instagram reel, TikTok reel, whatever it is you do, it should move your audience one step closer to buying from you, okay? And so here's how to create content that actually converts buyers. Write down each reason that holds people back from buying from you. Whether it's they don't believe you can help them get a result, whether it's they don't think they're gonna get a big enough ROI, whether it's they don't see enough proof, whether it's they think they can do it on their own, whatever it is, write it down, limiting beliefs and objections mainly, and put it into a table like this. So what I've done is I've created a table, audience trigger type, pain, fear, desire, limiting belief, common objection. I write down the specific details. For example, I'll get back to you in a few weeks is an objection I hear a lot. What they're thinking internally is, I can do this on my own, and then I write a post idea or an angle to tackle that within my content. So I therefore create the video. Why trying to figure it out on my own slowed my growth down a lot. Obviously for each objection, each limiting belief, you can create multiple content ideas and hammer that through consistently. And if you do this enough, you'll start to see that them limiting beliefs and objections go. So again, every single piece of content should tackle a limiting belief or an objection. And it's all about being super intentional. A lot of you will post a piece of content just to kind of tick the box and say, right, I posted for the day, done. Or, that's got impressions, cool, happy days. But the more you do that, the more you're gonna put out shit content. And then you wonder why you get shit results, okay? every single post needs to be super intentional. If there's one thing I can kind of get you to take away from doing content, it's you need to focus on the high leverage task, which is figuring out what stops people from buying from you and finding a way to tuck it out in your content. The more you can do this, the less objections you'll get. So be super intentional with every single post you put out, because most content is the same. It's, here's how to do this, here's why here's 5 steps to build this funnel or whatever it is, okay? But prospects are not thinking that. They're not thinking, what are 5 steps to create a LinkedIn post? What they're thinking is, will this work for me? Can I do this on my own? Should I do this now? That's what they think when they book a sales call with you or when they're on a sales call with you, okay? So these are the topics that our content should be addressing, not 5 tips or, the best investments, whatever it is. These are the topics our content should be mainly addressing, because the sale doesn't actually happen on the sales call, right? It's very hard to convince someone that they need your product on a call. Like, if someone walks into a car dealership, it's because they want a car. That's how we want to get our prospects. We want them to show up to our showroom, our sales call, ready to buy something, regardless of what it is, because they know they need a solution. And the way that you get sales to happen is it happens all before the call even starts, okay? So through your content, through your marketing. And when you do this, your calls will feel 10 times easier. Everything will run smoother. You'll stop having to handle the same objections. Your close rate will jump because your prospects' objections would have been pre-handled. But even with the right content, most people don't get enough sales calls, right? Whenever you solve one problem, you create another one, okay? So the next bottleneck, once you solve the offer, once you solve the content issue, is you're probably not going to have enough volume or sales calls through to scale the business, okay? So component number 3 is high leverage outreach. I'm going to basically show you how to stop getting inconsistent sales calls and how to book them on autopilot without you having to do much work at all, right? Most founders are doing outreach themselves, okay? And this is a problem. A lot of people just rely on it. They're like, it works, so happy days. I booked 3 sales calls last week, so I'm going to carry on. But that is a bottleneck in itself. And you're probably in one of 2 situations. Either one, it's not working, like you're sending it and then you don't get responses or you don't get calls booked or you just don't do it. Or 2, it's inconsistent. Maybe one week you get 5 sales calls, one week you get none, okay? And obviously this is what not enough or inconsistent sales calls looks like on a graph in case you needed to see it. But this is not an outreach process problem usually. It's a time problem, okay? Again, we're all running businesses. We have admin to do, we have delivery to do, we have sales calls to do. If your outreach or your sales calls are inconsistent, it's a time issue 90% of the time, not an outreach process. Outreach isn't difficult, it's not hard to crack. You message someone, you ask them if they've got a problem, you ask to solve it, okay? Because you're probably doing it when you can, not when it needs to be done. Outreach needs to be done every single week, regardless of what Kobe says. My opinion is it needs to be done in order to grow a business. A lot of businesses rely on this, okay? So when you only do outreach when you can, I suppose when it needs to be done, it leads to inconsistent sales calls, which leads to inconsistent revenue, which also leads to no predictability. So if you don't have the data in front of you to say, right, if I send X amount of messages, I get Y amount of responses, which means I get X amount of sales calls, you're not going to know how much revenue you make next month. This is why we need to solve this problem, unless you all don't mind guessing how much money you're going to make next month, which I'm sure you don't, and Joe probably won't when you ask him for investment help, right? So maybe you've tried hiring a setter, but it still doesn't work, okay? Setters often don't fail though, because of their lack of ability. And if you don't know what a setter is, it's someone who just manages your DM, manages your outreach. Setters often don't fail because of their lack of ability. More often than not, they fail because of a lack of systems, okay? They have no onboarding process. You don't bring them in and say, right, here's what you need to learn, here's the processes that I do, here's the ICP, you're gonna be target. They don't have training, they don't have data tracking, they don't have standards that you hold them to. This is the big one. A lot of people just kind of expect their set to come on and go, right, send some messages, and that's it. And then the set doesn't do the work, they don't tell them off. Blah, blah, blah. But when you crack this, the changes are huge, right? When I did this, when I implemented a setter that was actually good and onboarded him properly and, trained him up, etc., I jumped from 15 to 34K a month within 30 days. Carl Campion, one of my clients who does marketing consulting as well, jumped from 10 to 30K a month. Again, the fitness coach, he stays anonymous, by the way, because he targets very high level people. He doesn't want it out there, but he jumped from 40 to 100K a month within 4 months, roughly. We didn't just send more messages. In fact, I don't even think any of us sent more messages than we was before. We just built a system that works consistently regardless of if we're running it or not, okay? Because most outreach never scales because 1, there's no system, 2, there's no tracking, 3, there's no idea what is actually broken. So I'm gonna show you how to figure out from your data what problem you have in your business as well, which leaves you guessing. You don't wanna be guessing how much money you're gonna earn next month or how many sales calls you're gonna book next week. It's a shit place to be. I've been there, it's not fun. So here's 5 KPIs that you need to track in order to make sure your business is predictable and easy for you to scale. Again, feel free to write these down. Number 1, new conversation started. Number 2, % of those people that actually reply to you. Number 3, number of those that turn into sales calls. Number 4, % of those sales calls that were actually qualified, i.e. your ICP. Number 5, your show rate to the sales calls as well. If you don't track these, you're running your business blind, okay? So here's what good looks like. These are the standards that you should be hitting if you're doing outreach or your setter's doing outreach. At least a 33% response rate, at least a 20% plus call book rate. So for every 100 people that respond, 20 of them should be booking in. 20% of them should be booking in, sorry. 90% show rate as well. Anything below that, this is where you can make the biggest changes, okay? If you have a low message to response rate, it's a positioning or a message issue. So look at how your profile is set up. Does it speak to your ICP? Does it sound too salesy? Does it look like you're about to pitch them something? Is the message that you first send shit? Is it a cold pitch? Is it super AI, right? If it's a low convo to call percentage, it's a setter issue, which means whoever's sending the DMs is terrible at them, or the process is off, okay? If you have a low show rate, it's a nurture issue. And if you have a low close rate, it's a sales/offer issue / marketing as well. Anyone here have any of them problems that you kind of want me to walk through? Go on.
I've had a bit of a low what does low show rate mean? Go on, just explain it.
If you book 10 sales calls and 5 of them show up, the other 5 don't show,
Yeah.
that'd be a low show rate.
Yeah, I've had just a couple of people like cancel last minute, which drives me out of the fucking wall.
Do you know why?
Yes, bullshit excuse, like.
What's the intention of the call? Like when you book it, what do they think?
Chats.
Okay.
And I make it abundantly clear that it's not a sales call.
What value are they going to get from that?
That's a good question. It's essentially, well, you don't. If you go into the conversation saying you're going to get value out of it, they immediately get scared and run away.
Have you got proof of that, or is that just like a
Because
belief?
they think they're going to get sold to.
Have you got proof of that, or is that just a belief though?
I'd say that's a belief.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I would do, start voice note, and then once they're booked in, say, here's what we're going to go through on the call. Really looking forward. I'm sure I can learn this off you as well. That way it's a mutual exchange. And also make it clear, I'm not going to sell to you, by the way, but I'd love to do this. Give them a reason to show up.
People that do reach out and want to work with me, there's no problem.
Because the intention's there.
Yeah, zero problem with them. They're pretty much 100% converted.
Yeah, exactly. So a lot of people find this as well. Inbound leads, they close at like a 90% close rate. Outbound leads often don't close as high because they're not as educated because you've gone to them.
Yeah.
Okay, so you need to give them a reason to show up to the call. You need to give them, again, you're doing a coffee chat, so it's different. But if you've got like a clear difference in the close rate of inbound and outbound leads, the inbound lead has probably been watching your content for 4 to 6 months. I bet 90% of the time, if you ask any inbound lead how long they've been following you for, it's probably 4 to 6 months or longer.
It's my fault. There's people that I've just met. They've never seen any of my content. They don't have a clue who I am.
What, for the coffee chats that I'm not showing? Yeah, so then this is why I'd send them a voice note.
That's a nurture issue.
Yeah, or send them a load of emails once they book in. Here's what I do, here's who I am, here's some results I've got. This isn't going to be a...
They freak out and cancel because they'll be sold, think they're getting sold to.
What makes you think that people are scared to be sold to, though?
Doesn't everyone?
I don't.
I'm afraid of being sold to by bad salespeople.
Yeah, yeah.
Because it's a waste of time, not because I'm afraid of making a bad decision.
So maybe you're pitching to the wrong people, though,
Yeah, I think that's exactly it.
right? Because if people had the problem that you solved and you made it clear that you can definitely solve their problem, they probably wouldn't show it. Yeah, I'd say it's maybe like a nurture issue, maybe a positioning issue as well. So have a look at them two things, see if it goes up. Okay, now you can know exactly what's broken off the back of the data. So again, them KPIs I told you to track, if you track them, you can then compare it to this and you can figure out where your bottleneck within your business is. And then, as I just said, you now know what to fix, okay? And outreach scales your business when 1 is consistent, 2 is tracked, so you can look at where the bottleneck is, 3 is not reliant on you. Okay, you don't need to do more outreach. This is the misconception that I want to kind of hammer in. You don't need to do more outreach, you need a system that works, okay? And then remove yourself from it. No one wants to be doing outreach, it's not fun. I mean, if you enjoy it, fair enough, I don't. So ideally remove yourself from it. That way it's not reliant on you showing up every single day when you're busy with other shit as well, okay? So as a quick recap of everything I went over. Idea of improving the offer, improve the conversion rate. Content, pre-sales people before they get on the call. For example, if you had more content that they could see before they got on the call, they'd be more sold to show up as well. Outreach feeds the whole system, okay? If one of these components is missing or not as good as the other, the business won't scale, okay? Even if your content and outreach is perfect, if the offer doesn't convert, you get sales calls when no one actually buys. If the offer and outreach is amazing, but the content's not, you're going to have a lot of struggle having to sell people on calls and actually have to be salesy. If you've got these two, but not this, you don't get any sales calls, okay? So you need to have all three kind of dialed in to have a scalable business. And this is the 3 main components to the authority flywheel, which is what I teach my clients, okay? And when all 3 components work properly, you don't have any dry weeks anymore. the inconsistency goes, and you're not the bottleneck, okay? So again, you don't need to do more in order to scale your business. You need leverage within the task you're doing and your business, okay? Any questions around anything I went over?
Would you advise against it if it was like sending it to an offer guy instead of a call?
No, but your content and offer doc has to be really good.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to be able to have as much feedback. Like the good thing about sales calls, and this is why you should record them as well, is you have a lot of feedback. Like if you're starting out a new offer, I'd definitely do sales calls. Okay, like I know your one's quite fresh. Maybe you don't like doing sales calls, but I'd purely do it just to get feedback so you can record it. Because what you can then do is look at the transcripts and be like, right, everyone who didn't buy, what questions did they ask me? What objections did they give me? Then you need to do more of that in your content. So if your offer's already kind of proven, like I've got a mate who makes $700K a year just sending offer docs through DMs. He doesn't take sales calls. But he's also been running that offer for 2 years. He has 2 years worth of feedback to then create the offer doc. Okay, so it can work, but you kind of need to make sure the offer doc and the content is dialed, which only really happens when you have enough feedback from prospects. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, great.
What's your like call to action flow? By that I mean, I met a guy in Cape Town called Sol, really good guy. He's actually blowing up on like Instagram.
Is he ginger? Yeah.
I've seen him.
Cape Town, never.
He's doing about
Can't tell, I've got no tan. Yes, I've just spent literally the last month and whatever with him. A really
Nice.
clued up guy. And the one thing he's really big on is like his call to action flow. And what he does is similar to you is all it is on every platform is he pushes everyone to his YouTube. You don't push them anywhere else but to his YouTube.
Same as
And then
me.
the first line of his description is like the landing page, or whatever he needs to go to. It's all he pushes everyone to, unless he's doing a mastermind or something. Then he does that as a call to action in his stories on like Instagram and stuff like that. So it's like his TikTok, I think, goes to his Instagram, and his Instagram goes to YouTube. And then he just pushes everyone through his content. And then he's like, if they've invested in me to the point they've gone through that, and through that, then they've gone to my YouTube, more than likely they're going to click that link and book to work with him.
Yeah, so reason being, I have the same kind of setup as well for the reference. I think I mentioned earlier, most followers will follow you for 4 to 6 months, maybe more, before they ever become an inbound lead or buy from you, okay? YouTube speeds up the whole process. Like the way I always describe it is if I go into a coffee shop every single day for the next 50 days, I say hello to someone, I get their name, ask them how their day was and then leave, that's the equivalent of a LinkedIn post. Like I can't gauge how much I trust you off of a text-based LinkedIn post. I don't get to see your body language, I don't get to see your tone of voice, I don't really get to know much about you other than whatever you're writing in them, 400, 500 words. And then by the next post, I've forgotten I ever read your post, okay? YouTube's completely different. If someone, like Sol said, can sit for a 20 to 30 minute video of mine, that's like sitting down for a coffee chat with me. They can see my body language, they can see my tone of voice, they can see whatever expertise I might have in that video. I can break their limiting beliefs or objections down a lot harder. So the reason you drive people to YouTube is LinkedIn and Instagram, TikTok, etc. That gets the attention. It's really, really good at getting attention because it's short form. Drive people to a YouTube video, they watch 20, 30 minutes of it, they're probably going to buy from you because they're pretty invested. Okay? So then what you can then do is do all your CTAs in the YouTube. Like when I upload this video, I'll get my editor to add in slides where it goes, like them sheets I had that you was taking photos of, I'll get him to add in underneath, DM me this word if you want it. That way people will message me on LinkedIn because they've seen the YouTube video. I'll then send it over, start a conversation with them and go through that. Like, I put for YouTube for about 1.5 years. When I did my first video, I made 10K that week just from launching my first YouTube video. Because I had about 4 people say to me, I didn't know that you was that knowledgeable. A lot of people thought that because I was too young, I didn't know what I was talking about. They said, when I watched that, I realized that you actually did, and then they paid me. So YouTube is killer. It's game changer for anyone that's just doing short form content.
There you go, Ben. More content. There's someone else as well, actually. This isn't a question, it's more just someone that does it. So Ben Etchells, who's a good friend as well from Manchester, he's like Molly May's videographer.
Mm-hmm.
Like when she's booked for a shoot with like Hidden Hills, she requests Ben and Harry to do it. Now, the only reason people hire them isn't just because of that, but it's because they've vlogged the behind the scenes of working for like 3 times. And people now can watch the vlog, see how they are, see how they work.
Yep.
See their banter, like one of the videos, I think Harry pushes Molly into like this mound of snow. Like, and it's just something so minuscule, but it always gets brought up, but it's like, oh, you're actually like human.
Yep.
Behind the camera kind of thing.
Yeah.
They've not uploaded a vlog, I think, in like 8 months, and they still get people that sign them because they watched the vlog, then worked with them because they got to see it.
Yeah, because like everyone has like if you're going to invest in someone, you really want to work with someone that you like. So a YouTube video is a lot better way to get your personality across than a LinkedIn post. So yeah, YouTube's game changer for anyone that just does short form. And if you do YouTube videos, I'd recommend focus on breaking down one limiting belief or objection per video. Like this one, the limiting belief that I'm breaking down is you need to work harder to scale. I've kind of just hammered that the whole way through. So anyone that I think comes to me and goes, yeah, I can try it on my own, or I'll just do more of what I'm doing, I'll just send them this video and let them come to their own conclusion.
So I know you do like the DM to like documents and things like that, don't you? Which I don't do the DM into content yet, but I fucking make documents all the time. I just send them to people.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to mention Jacob Peggs, who's a good friend of Colby. Technically one of your clients in it, Colby. He's done a roundtable webinar before. And if I do that, please correct me. One of his business models is basically he creates like constant like $10 documents fixing problems for people. Like that they've complained on a call kind of thing, or they've mentioned or dropped in a DM. He's like, right, I'll fix it in one document. Does he like send that to like his whole mailing list, and that's all he basically does, and then everyone just buys it?
Yeah, so it's kind of, he's shifting it now.
But that's what he wants to do.
Yeah, through our work.
Yeah.
Kind of fucking it all up. Yeah, it's based on this idea of you just kind of work in cycles. So if he's the whole like make an offer every day person, and he sends a daily email, right? He's gonna likely quit that soon, but when it comes down to it, he will choose an offer for the week. So he will do like kind of a lead magnet style offer for the whole week, move it around that specific topic. So he might choose a limiting belief, and then just that's always the call to action. Then he'll have a core offer for a week, then he'll have a workshop for a week, and then he'll choose like a low ticket product for a week, and then just cycles them out, right? So it's like you always know where to send people, and you're being really consistent. It's kind of like just mini campaigns all the time. So you're not like making people tired on one offer.
So where I was going with that, with your model for you or with people you work with, I know you do the freebie, the DM me, I'll give you this thing kind of thing. Do you think it can also work either with, I am going to go with low ticket or entry offer level documents with maybe a bit more info, or you say don't do that, put it into the content and do you like give everything away for free and sell the pay you kind of thing?
I'd give as much value as possible. The reason I do DM me Word CTAs is I don't.
Is there a reply automated, by the way? Is there a reply when the DM you automated?
No, I've got a set that does it.
Okay.
I don't touch my DMs. Like I hate doing it, so I just get him to do it. The reason I get that isn't I don't particularly care about giving everyone free value. I obviously have to make the document good, because if I send them a shit document, they're probably not going to pay me. But the idea is I just get 30 people message me who have intention behind potentially working with me. And then what I can do is I can nurture them people over, say, the next 3 months. 5 of them might buy immediately, 5 of them might buy in 3 months. So the whole point of it is just to get intention. I think with low ticket, I'd still give as much free value as possible. Like a lot of people are scared to give away free value because they're like, oh shit, someone might not work with me. But if you don't do it, someone else will. Like if you don't give away financial advice, someone else will.
I think so I started doing something quite interesting a few months ago. I started giving out a document to like agents of what they need to do with like their football players. And I literally sent it out to them, and it's all these problems that footballers face that the agent probably has no idea about. And I literally sent it out to a few agents, and I got so many responses because they look at it and they're like, I've literally never, like, why has no one told me any of this before?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, can you just, because they don't want to do it, they're like, can you just sort out I've got 2 guys, can you just sort them out?
I know someone that did that, but based on income protection or workplaces.
Income protection's
Yeah.
wicked.
Yeah, like, that's one of the ones I knew someone that did that with income protection.
Yeah, stuff like that I think, for me, it's really worked. But I think it's, because I've thought that, I've been really worried about giving too much value, but what I've realised is actually, a lot of the time, people can't do it themselves.
Yeah, and like if you don't do it, David down the road might.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, and they're going to go to the person who has more value. But secondly, as well, like a really easy way to think of this is people don't pay for information. Information is everywhere. Like I could open up ChatGPT and say, "Give me a financial plan." It will give me a decent one. Maybe not as good as you could do it, but 90% of the way. Same thing with this. Someone could look up on ChatGPT, how do I write good LinkedIn content? How do I hire a seller? But people don't pay for that. They pay for A, kind of confirmation that they're doing the right thing, but B, implementation. Personal training is not a hard concept to grasp. I can look up how much calories I need to eat, what do I need to train, and pretty much figure it out. But people pay for the accountability. So figure out what people pay you for, give that away for free anyway, and people will come to you for it. No, other way around, sorry. Figure out what people pay you for, don't give that part away, but give everything else away around it. For example, if you're a personal trainer, people probably pay you for accountability. Give everything else away other than that. That's what they'll come to you for, because they've got one last missing puzzle piece that they can't solve themselves.
Any other questions? Sweet.
All good.
Thanks, man.
All good.